What little thing can you do to bring more love into your relationship this week? And this is also really for our listeners to bring this question into this week. What little thing can you do? And you might be listening to this and be in between relationships. You might be in one of those it's complicated situations, but that question can still exist. What can you do to bring more love into your relationship this week? That relationship can be even with somebody who maybe you're not even in a relationship with anymore.
Yeah, or even with yourself, like that in itself is a relationship. Like, what can you do to improve the relationship that you have with yourself?
And that's huge, because self-love, I've got to say, but love is not just a whole sort of cocktail of like speed and cocaine and Molly and whatever else. Love is a hero's journey that is exciting, but it's challenging.
Should I read the next question?
Yeah.
One thing you can improve this week in your relationship is, you go first.
Okay. Being more aware and present when Cera is sharing to just be heard or when she's sharing to need guidance or insight through a challenge. So in short, really bringing this question to myself when you're going through a challenge. Am I listening? Or am I solving? And even not only asking myself, but if I'm not clear, asking you.
Got it. That's good. For me, I said my mood and my attitude is literally.
That's funny. One thing you can improve on your relationship is my mood, my attitude.
My mood and my attitude. Because I have been a little bit of a negative Nancy lately. Usually I'm very optimistic and happy, but that's not been the case. And I want to be vulnerable when I feel I need to be vulnerable. Mm. But I also don't want like things that are coming up and disappointments from business and all the things that I'm doing at the moment to affect who I am at the core. And I think is like, there's been so many, I'm dealing with so many things from my own business, from like launching this, like the journal, that I feel like sometimes I let outside forces change the way I feel and the way like I operate. So I want to be more mindful of that. And if I'm letting my business affect how I feel, then that is also affecting my relationship.
Yeah.
So that's mine.
Nice. Okay. So we interrupt this program to bring you the quote of the week from the Lover's Journal.
You know what I thought you were going to say? We are going to interrupt these programs so that we can tell you about our sponsors. Well, we don't have sponsors.
We don't. Well, we're sponsoring ourselves with the Lover's Journal. The Lover's Journal is rad, and we're loving it. The quote this week is by William James, and it says, "Whenever you're in conflict with someone, there is one factor that can make the difference between damaging your relationship and deepening it. And that factor is attitude."
Look at me. That is what I just said. I want to change my attitude because it is. I want to deepen my relationship with you.
And that attitude, I think it's really important. And I also touch on that, something similar to that in my other thoughts and realizations. But that once again, kind of going back to the beginning of this podcast and dealing with the fact that the hero's journey is a challenging journey. The love journey is a challenging journey. It should be enjoyable, but it will not always be enjoyable. I often say, like Luke Skywalker is pretty cool. And as a young boy, I wanted to be like Luke Skywalker. He was a hero of mine. But Luke Skywalker, in order to be that hero, his mom had to be dead. The people who loved him and raised him were killed. His mentor was killed, and his father turned out to be Darth Vader. If you want to be the hero, that's the crap you have to go through in your life. And that's just simply the way it's going to be. Now, you don't have to have your dad be Darth Vader necessarily. You don't have to have a dead mom. But the concept still exists, which is that we are going to be challenged and we need to be challenged. And so what is going to be the difference then between damaging your relationship or deepening it within those challenges is the attitude.
Yeah.
There we go.
Wow.
Okay. Thanks, William James. And here we are on prompt number 3. What little thing can you do to bring more love into your relationship this week? And I'm going to say before you answer this, which you get to answer first, and this is also really for our listeners, to bring this question into this week. What little thing can you do? And you might be listening to this and be in between relationships, or you might not, you might be in one of those it's complicated situations, or, there could be any situations, but that question can still exist. What can you do to bring more love into your relationship this week? That relationship can be even with somebody who maybe you're not even in a relationship with in anymore.
Yeah. Or even with yourself, like that in itself is a relationship. Like, what can you do to improve the relationship that you have with yourself?
And that's huge, because self-love, I've got to say, I am really harsh on myself, and I continue to work on it. I was in a family therapy session the other day, and one of the things that I go to I try not to, but I go to when something comes up, like a mistake that I've made, is I want to get super down on myself. And the therapist had to basically say, yep, cut it out. It's like, oh, thank you for that reminder, because I was really going to beat myself up over it. And I think that can also be really important, because also this is what can you do to bring more love into your relationship this week? It might actually be, get up early and go on a run. That way I can be clear-headed in my, so I can be in a better spot. Or I'm going to, get up and make myself a delicious, homemade cappuccino or something, whatever that is. Those things can also bring more love into your relationship. When you take care of yourself, you can take care of others.
Yeah, mine was super simple.
What was it?
I am going to make myself a really yummy soup this weekend.
Yummy soup. Okay.
Then, I want some delicious soup, that's literally what I want. I just want I'm going to make a nice soup and a nice meal.
Yeah. A nice soup. Okay. Very good.
I had
else?
2, but
no, you can bring 2 things into your 2 things you can do to bring more love in. No, I want to hear both.
Okay. I said, if time permits, we're gonna go on a hike, which you usually do go on hikes on Sunday, and then on this week we're gonna do a picnic.
Ooh. Okay.
Like we used to.
All right.
It's like the old days.
Yeah, which we could do. I don't know if it's going to be time permitting or if it's going to be weather permitting, because we are dealing with quite some storms here in Northern California. So we'll see.
We'll see.
All right.
But if weather permitting, I just say that because we have a dentist appointment. So
okay. All right. So
over the weekend,
what I can do is Cera struggled with a presentation she did this week. That was part of what triggered the downward spiral. Was a really exciting opportunity to give a presentation that was sponsored by TripAdvisor. Pretty cool. And all of the preparation leading up to it and their kind of practice runs and everything, she hit it out of the park and was feeling so good and so excited, and then showed up and kind of laid an egg, in her opinion. I haven't heard it yet.
I think it was terrible, based on my own opinion.
Mm-hmm. Which is not necessarily the right opinion, but I haven't heard it yet, and I think I will. I do want to listen to it, and this is we can.
Yeah, but I've never given a presentation. I've given a presentation in class, but there was there were 250 people from all over the world, and as the number kept, I looked at the number, and there was more people joining the conversation, and I was giving it with these 2 most brilliant, beautiful, powerful women. And I just was and I just felt truly a mentee. I just was I went into a place of how am I on this panel with these 2 women and 250 people listening to us? And I just couldn't answer the questions in a authentic, confident manner. I just hide. And that has been a tough 2 days after I did that.
Mm-hmm. And so there was part of me that was actually feeling a little bit I don't want to say bad, but I want to say, so I want to find a way to both be there for your sadness with it, yet also show up with clarity to help you improve the parts of your speaking that you seem to want to improve, and be helpful, honest, yet not judgmental. And I think I was challenged with that a little bit, because I have had some ideas or insight into your speaking in your presentation. And yet, because I brought him up a couple times and either in the wrong way or maybe a little too judgmental or hit on some section, some sort of soft spot or some insecurity or something, that I just said, you know what, not my thing. And so when you got to this point where you now struggled with it, I want to think, well, how can I actually show up and be there for you? Because that can be hard. One thing is that, I have insight for it, but in the past, I tried to bring insight and it became a fight, so I didn't want that. And so I think that's one of the things that I want to, a little thing I can do to bring more love into my relationship this week is also, it's actually, this one's about me. How do I really show up in a way that is strong and also compassionate? So that's going to be my work and for this week, particularly, as it comes to, to this. And maybe we don't even go into this particular thing 100%, but, I can look back and say, if I had found a way to be more present in how I shared my insight with you, if I had been able to be less judgmental about how I brought up things around this in the past, maybe I could have, helped in this regard. It's all hyperbole anyways, but you get what I'm saying. So I want to bring more awareness to that.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything you could have done. Plus, I don't think I'm ready to watch that video, to be honest.
You're going to have to watch that video.
I am going to have to watch it, but not
this week. Wait until you've recovered. That way you can have like a whole nother week of being depressed. Okay, I've gotten over that one. Now let's just pile it on.
And the thing I know deeply is like I really need to show up to do more panels because I have had this dream of like running my own organization and having my own social enterprise that is well known, and I need to give those speeches. Like I need to communicate to people as to why I do what I do. And if I don't learn to be clear to communicate what drives me and my purpose is like, then I don't get to make the impact that I want to make.
Yeah.
So that I know deeply, and also it's like, it sucks that I'm going through that learning process.
But sadly, we all have to do it. Some people do it in their relationships. We have early relationships. We screw those ones up, and then we get better ones. So you give some speeches, you screw it up, you do a better one.
Yeah. Now I'm like, I really have to like maybe sign up to give more talks, sign up to do more podcasts on other people's podcasts. But I have to, and also watch myself on our podcast and listen to my own podcast and listen to the TripAdvisor talk that I give.
Yeah.
So.
All right. And how about any other thoughts, ideas, and realizations as we come to the close of this week's episode?
No, I don't have any other thoughts. I think those were my thoughts.
You have no thoughts? Okay, I said.
It's not like I don't have any other thoughts.
I'm done. I'm empty.
The thoughts.
Yep.
I could go on forever.
Let's see. This is what I said. I don't even remember what I wrote here. Yesterday when Cera was having a terrible day, I was reminded that I love her not in spite of her meltdown, but including those parts of the whole woman who I love. And I think that was just kind of an important piece. Was just really a reminder to me that, you have your challenges, you have your shortcomings, and I love all of that. And sometimes it takes effort to love all of those things, but it's an effort worth putting in.
Yeah. I think as we're doing this podcast, I'm just going to be like really honest. I'm like, oh my God, I'm putting out to the world like how I am struggling. And it's, there's a part of me that just want to show like, oh, life is great. I'm doing great, but I'm not. And it's also hard. It's kind of interesting. It's like, I want to show that vulnerability, but when I do, like even when you read it, it just kind of seems like today, like our doing of the journal for week 3 was like kind of more sharing like my struggle, and I want to hide that, but I also don't want to hide it. So there's like, I guess those two things can exist together at the same time, where it's like I want to be vulnerable and I'm a little like embarrassed. Like I just want to be like the me that I'm usually am, like in good spirit and like fun. But
I get it. Yeah, well, I think actually probably a lot of people get that. I surely do. I would way rather be an infinitely better human being than I am, and certainly present that to the world. And I think that's really vital to get to the point where we can be okay with that. I mean, I struggle with it, but I think it's really important. I'm so far from perfect, and that is actually really, really the only way I'm going to get closer to where I want to go is by fully admitting and acknowledging it and not trying to hide it.
yeah.
So, well, good. Well, thanks for being the soul bearer today, and thank you all for joining us on this week's episode of the Interracial Couple podcast. And we'll do this again next week.
Yeah, and don't forget to subscribe.
Yes, please subscribe, follow, like, all that good stuff. And any questions, thoughts, input, insight, let us know.
Send us some love.
We'll take it. Bye.
Bye.